Vitality Chiropractic, we offer polyvagal informed chiropractic care. In case you're not familiar with what that means, let me explain. The polyvagal theory is the work of psychologist and neuroscientist Dr. Stephen Porges. Through his extensive research, which spans over several decades, he found our vagus nerve, which is the longest cranial nerve in our body, is not only responsible for our overall health, but it's also involved in how we're able to interact with others. Now, the vagus nerve has a big job. It's responsible for bringing information from receptors that are located all throughout our body up the spinal cord to the brain for processing. It also takes those commands from the brain down the cord to almost every organ in our body. Now, what Dr. Porges found is that our vagus nerve has evolved over time to have two branches, and these are referred to as the ventral vagal, which means the front side of our body, and the dorsal vagal, which means the back side of our body. The ventral vagal branch, which is the newer branch, affects our body functioning above the diaphragm and regulates the muscles of the face and head, as well as impacts our voice and hearing, all of which allows us to be social with others, and at the same time it helps downregulate our stress response. The older dorsal branch affects body functioning below the diaphragm, and it's also involved with digestive issues. Now, the polyvagal theory has three tenets to it, and the first one is co-regulation. Co-regulation is our drive to survive and our longing to connect with others, and this is vital to our health and well-being. Like I said before, our autonomic nervous system is what coordinates and controls every other system of our body, and it's constantly sending and searching for cues of danger and safety in the world around us. It's these cues that either welcome us to connect with others or cause us to become more reactive and on edge. Now remember, I mentioned that the ventral part of our vagus nerve impacts our social engagement system. Let's get a little bit deeper into that. The tone of our vagus nerve impacts the functioning of 5 other cranial nerves. And these are the nerves that control the muscles of our face, the tone of our voice, the movement of our head, and our hearing, all of which are required for us to be able to co-regulate with others. Now we'll come back to what affects the tone of the vagus nerve in just a little bit. But first, let's discuss the second tenet of the polyvagal theory, which is neuroception. So we've already talked about this a little bit when I mentioned that our nervous system is constantly scanning our environment to determine if we're safe or not. This is an unconscious scanning, and it's referred to as neuroception. Neuroception can and is very helpful to keep us safe. However, it can and does occasionally misread cues that it's given, which could lead to nervous system dysregulation. And this dysregulation is best described by the third and final tenet of the polyvagal theory, the autonomic hierarchy. So remember, I mentioned that the tone of our nervous system impacts the tone of our vagus nerve impacts our social engagement system. The truth is, vagal tone impacts even more than that, and the autonomic hierarchy illustrates this quite well. At the top of the ladder is what's referred to as the ventral vagal state. In this state, our nervous system is in a state of ease, meaning we feel safe and connected. In this state, our nervous system is able to coordinate and control the other systems of our body as it was designed to do. And this, again, like I said before, helps the systems of our body to function at their very best. And at the same time, we're able to connect with others and be in tune with what's going on in our own body, something that's called interoception. When our nervous system perceives a threat, either real or imagined because of that faulty neuroception, we move down the ladder and our nervous system becomes dysregulated. This next rung down is called sympathetic activation and is better known as fight or flight. Now, when we're in this state, our body is primed to either fight or flee. Our blood pressure is going to go up, our heart's going to start to pound, our cholesterol levels even rise, and this thickens out our blood, so in case we're fighting a grizzly bear, we don't bleed out. At the same time, all those not so vital and energy-hungry systems like our immune system and reproductive system take a back seat. In this state, our body will also shunt blood from digestive organs and push that blood out to our arms and legs in an effort to help us stay safe. Emotionally, this heightened state leaves us feeling anxious and on edge. Now, when our nervous system determines that this isn't a stress that we're going to defeat or run from, we move down another rung to what's called dorsal vagal activation. And this is sometimes referred to as freeze or fawn. Here we play possum, so to speak, and we emotionally withdraw from the world, and it's just an effort to stay safe. And so it's not uncommon to experience depression when in this state. So if you remember, in fight or flight, where our body's primed to do some work, in a perfect world, we'll either restore that regulation by working our body as we would in engaging in a fight or running. Or the other option is just kind of like shake it off like a dog does and return back to that regulated nervous system. However, when we are in a chronic state of stress, this doesn't happen. When our body doesn't get a chance to move as it would in a fight or flight scenario, the extra blood that was shunted to our bigger muscles doesn't get moved out as it should. And over time, this could lead to muscle pain and tension. There is also a body of research that strongly suggests that when you're in that dorsal vagal dysregulation, that's related to what's called medically unexplained illnesses. And those include, but aren't limited to, dysautonomia, irritable bowel syndrome, fibromyalgia, migraines, and chronic fatigue. Polyvagal chiropractic care impacts the nervous system, in particular the vagus nerve, in a way that helps to not only restore ease to the nervous system, but can also improve the resiliency of the system, something that's referred to as the window of tolerance. And this is so we don't so easily fall down that ladder. And that leads me to my final point. We're not fixed at any rung of that ladder. The truth is we can and do move up and down that ladder in response to the world around us. Polyvagal chiropractic care helps your body to better respond to the stresses of life, which helps keep you more ventral vagal and keeps you healthy and happier.